Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. This is live stream 1060. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then I will normally pontificate about some topic related to our hobby, which is something I will be doing tonight. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But also should point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, this is a live show, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Plus, the reality is, depending on what you watch this on, you probably wouldn't even be able to make out the chat. That's the reality of it. But I also should mention you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But first out the gate tonight is our very good friend of the show, the Madman. Yes, the Madman is back. Hopefully he enjoyed some good Wednesday gaming. We didn't get an opportunity to see him last night, but he has returned. AD is with us, as is Tony Urquides, Roger Perdome, W. Forge, Martin 7W, Red Dice Diaries, Mike, Chuck Terrell, Kathy Evans, Zach McKinney, Chris Lundgren, and Testy Trekkie, as well as another friend of the show, Flaming Heron, yet another of our chat moderators. And I would take a guess, the third chat moderator, the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D, is probably hiding in the shadows, glittering up her banhammer for those who might misbehave. Not that we ever really need to bust out the band hammers around here. We've done it twice, I think in, 6 years? 6 years I've been doing this? Crazy. It's crazy talk. Pete Strakolich is also with us, as is Joshua Parker. So yes, Joshua Parker points out, only the shadow knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. The shadow knows. You know, I am a fan of Orson Welles when he was doing The Shadow. Or I guess I should say I'm a fan of The Shadow when Orson Welles was The Shadow. Shadow episodes from the later 40s into the 50s, it's all shadow fighting gangsters. Or somebody kidnaps Margot Lane because she got too close to a story. And it's just criminals. The early Shadow episodes, there are some supernatural elements to them. A lot of people get killed. There's one, it's with a poisoner. Guy's poisoning the water supply of the city that it takes place. And like thousands of people are dying in this episode. It's crazy. It's wild. It's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. And those episodes are from, gosh, I want to say like the early 30s, because they're pretty early in radio's run. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. AD says, it's too bad Doc Savage doesn't have a great catchphrase like the Shadow. Red Dice Diary says, Doc Savage does have that mad theme tune, though, or at least did for the TV version. There was a Doc Savage movie. I seem to recall seeing it on VHS years and years ago. And if I remember correctly, it was all chopped up and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And if I remember correctly, I think the studio got their hands on the movie and decided, no, we're going to change this up a bit. Lenny Blade and Tesco Love, as well as Semper Buffo, are with us, as is Dangar the Mighty. So yes, if you are a longtime follower of the Gaming Gang, you may recall this is one of my convention-going shirts. I used to always bust this out for San Diego Comic-Con, and I would always post a photo of me in this shirt. I haven't worn this shirt in probably 3 or 4 years. I thought, you know what? I'm going to bust this out just for the heck of it. Bust it out, kind of a festive look. So we are going to get into the tabletop gaming news in just a moment. Do want to mention tonight's topic might upset some people. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know what triggers you. So I'm just saying up front, I am going to talk about why the vast majority of Wizards of the Coast 5e Dungeons and Dragons reviews nowadays are absolute bullshit. So if the word bullshit freaks you out, if you don't like hearing the word bullshit, if you feel bullshit is a swear word, which it really isn't. It's not a curse word, actually. But if you don't like that word, then you might want to tune out after we do the news. Because it'll get used a few times. Maybe not as many times as I just did use it. But there you go. There you go. All right, let's see. We've got a few more people popping in. Michael Burrell is with us in chat. For some reason, I think this might be a first-time live visit in chat for Michael. His name's not ringing a bell. Says they need to get some Hawaiian shirts again. They haven't had any in a long time. I have 2. This is the only one that I could really say is a Hawaiian shirt. James Venabush and Venom 12 are with us. Kevin King is just popping on in too. I think I've said hello to everyone. Yes. So let's jump on into the news, because Bob Worldbuilder and Eventyr Games have teamed up for what looks to be a pretty interesting, and I must say a very successful Kickstarter. I've got the scoop on Delve. How to build and survive deadly dungeons. Over 200 pages of dungeons, monsters, traps, magic items, player options, and more. No adventure is complete without a delve into a dungeon filled with devious traps, monstrous challenges, and sweet, sweet loot. Delve is a complete guide to building and surviving deadly dungeons with over 200 pages of dungeon building tools and plug-and-play dungeons, and more monsters, treasures, player options, and traps than you can shake a 10-foot pole at. Want dungeons that are fun, thrilling, and easy to run without hours of tedious prep? Delve is your guide, available for both 5e Dungeons & Dragons and Shadow Dark. Lair, shrine, tomb, crypt, catacomb, jail, vault. Regardless of the form it takes, the dungeon is at the heart of all fantasy tabletop role-playing games. There's no better place for heroic adventurers to prove themselves as they match their wits against traps, monsters, and other deadly challenges. If they survive, of course. With its unique blend of classic advice and modern resources, Delve gives game masters a master class in building designing, and running dungeons so they're both fun for the players and easy for the game master. Delve also gives you over 10. I don't know if that means it's 10 or maybe it's going to be 11 or more. I don't know. Maybe there's some of them might be stretch goals that I just didn't notice. Well, you're going to get at least 10 original dungeons for 1st to 10th level characters using a unique and innovative presentation that emphasizes ease of play and adjustability, making each dungeon easy to run with minimal preparation and adaptable to different levels, themes, and campaigns. From the Shrine of the Oozing Dragon to the Tomb of the Sunken Star and the Lair of the Frog King, each dungeon comes complete with entertaining puzzles, devious traps, flavorful monsters, and awesome treasure. There is a short Kickstarter video. It's about a minute and a half, 2 minutes or so. So let's take a peek.
We all love the thrill of defeating a dragon, but no adventure is complete until you delve into a dungeon and drag your plunder from its depths, assuming you make it out. Delve is your guide for building and surviving deadly dungeons, combining classic advice with new resources for both game masters and players. Written for D&D 5e and Shadowdark RPG. Delve is packed with new monsters, magic items, puzzles, hazards, traps, and mechanics to provide a complete dungeon design toolbox for GMs, and each one is available as a card handout, ready to drop right into your game. In addition to new treasures, players get dungeon delving subclasses and feats for 5e and new class talent tables for Shadowdark, plus playable races for both. And the main feature, 10 dark dungeons designed for easy prep and adaptable to any campaign. And don't worry, there's dragons too. All that's left is for you to light your torch and delve. Hey, I'm Bob, and this is my first actual book. If you know me from YouTube, you may also know I've published a few dozen 5e one-shots and rule supplements as PDFs, but now I am teaming up with Eventyr Games to physically bring you Delve. The book kicks off with my own compilation of the best dungeon design theory and tips to fuel your creativity, and I'm very excited not only about that, and my dungeon and monsters and more, but because we also got a bunch of my pals to contribute. I'm talking monsters from Professor DM, Ginny D, D&D Shorts, Dungeon Dad, Baron Derop, Sly Flourish, a magic item from Pointy Hat, a dungeon, well loved and tested because it was first written years ago by my wife, Grace World Destroyer, and another dungeon from a true innovator in the RPG space, Hanker Infernal, aka Runehammer. And we even got a little help from the creator of Shadowdark RPG, Kelsey Dion. Eventyr Games has already published several successful 5e books through Kickstarter, so when they asked me about writing one together, I was excited to get started and to go all in on Shadowdark because it's a great game. It's already pretty compatible with 5e, and I think it opens the door to other awesome games like Dungeon Crawl Classics, Index Card RPG, and more. And whether you go with the 5e version or the Shadowdark version, you get both PDFs for the price of one, so you can delve into another system. But really, I'm so proud of what we're making here. The books, the dice, there's cards, like you can finally tell your players when they activate your trap card, and you can make all this happen by backing Delve on Kickstarter today. So thank you for your support, and keep building.
Well, you got to see the extra long bonus video, or actually 2 videos. Actually put the wrong one in, but actually it's the right one because you got not only the animated video, you also got Bob, World Builder, talking about the Kickstarter project, which has passed the $290,000 mark. You can reserve a hardcover copy, I should say, of either the Shadowdark or 5e D&D edition, which come with both PDFs. So you can order just one, but you'll get both PDFs for a $40 pledge, or you can score both flavors together in PDF for a $25 pledge through May 31st. Expected delivery for the digital files is going to be January, and the physical books are slated to arrive in March. So as I mentioned, gotta say, this looks pretty interesting, but I am kind of curious. Now, I know of Bob World Builder. I don't watch his videos. And remember, gang, I talk about this a lot. I don't have time to watch other outlets. Very, very rarely do I get an opportunity to spend time watching other content creators. Although I will say I have watched Seth Skurkowski probably more than anybody else. But even he doesn't get as much attention from me as he probably deserves. But here's the question, because like I said, I'm not overly familiar with Bob World Builder. Isn't he 5e D&D focused? Isn't that his content? He tackles 5e D&D. And I did notice he's got, I think, some guest creators in this project too. And just at a quick glance, it looked like they're all pretty much associated with 5e D&D. So I'm just kind of curious because there is a Shadow Dark edition, and Shadow Dark is, well, not like traditional OSR, does have an OSR vibe to it. OSR and 5e D&D are two absolutely different things. They really really share very little as far as, you know, the theories behind gameplay. So Kevin R. Smith says, Bob World Builder seems cool. Oh yeah, I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying I don't watch his stuff. I thought he's a 5e D&D guy. So like I said, I'm just a little curious about the approach that this is going to take. If it's going to be really embedded in 5e, or if it's a little more, well, it's kind of system agnostic, but we're saying it's 5e because, yeah, it's going to help us sell stuff. You know what I mean. So Kevin R. Smith says he was only 5e up till the open game license fiasco. Now he dabbles in stuff like Dungeon Crawl Classics and Shadow Dark. Says he loves Dungeon Crawl Classics. Sweet, very nice. Red Dice Diary says, yes, Bob World Builder mostly does 5e, though I seem to recall he says that his version is heavily house ruled. Oh, well, isn't most people's 5e got a house ruled to death? NSVS is with us in chat. They said, Bob's a 5e guy, but he's fallen out of love with Wizards of the Coast. We have had a few more people popping on into chat. I know Keldon stopped in, and I just said hello to NSVS. Rob Stopper, that's somebody else who's also jumping on into chat, said they're getting the Shadow Dark edition. Pretty excited for it. Very nice. Very sweet. Oh, and Justice. All right, Jeff. English, Jeff. Justice. What? Geez. The hell, I need a sip here. For a second, it was like my lips were glued together. It's like, what the hell's going on? Justice McPherson is with us. I'm taking a guess at the pronunciation there, but seems to be spelled the same way as the famed American Civil War general on the Union side. So I will take a guess. It's McPherson. And Russell Higgins is with us. Good to see you. Very cool. All right. So there's some discussion of West End's D6. Now isn't it called Open D6? Isn't it pretty much just open license now? Creative Commons, I guess we would say. Don't know. Anyway, this does look like a very interesting Kickstarter, so by all means, give it a peek. On to our next news piece. Cult of RuneQuest, The Lunar Way, has now arrived in print and PDF. I've got the scoop from my friends over at Chaosium Inc. I believe in the Red Goddess, mistress of life and death. Cult of RuneQuest, The Lunar Way is the player's guide to the deities of the Red Moon. Each cult dives deep into the mysterious and misunderstood lunar gods and provides mechanics for each of their cults to create your RuneQuest adventurer. There are 15 brand new cults, including Chekalil the Witch, the goddess of youth Tilo Nori, the chaos demon known as the Crimson Bat, and the Red Goddess herself, all playable for the first time. An expanded treatment of the cult of the Seven Mothers is also included, as are rules to create brand new RuneQuest adventurers belonging to these cults, detailing the skills, passions, spirit magic, and rune magic each cult offers. There are details on the unique organization, history, and nature of each cult, as well as new and unique lunar magic, plus expanded rules for lunar sorcery and the unique way lunar rune spells are affected by the phases of the red moon. There are rules for how your adventurer can grow into a god talker, rune priestess, or even a mighty rune lord. The history of the lunar gods, the lunar empire, the red emperor, and details for adventuring on the surface of the red moon itself are also part of this volume. The 160-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $39.99. Once again, it arrived in stores yesterday. You could also grab just the PDF alone, which arrived at Drive-Thru RPG yesterday for $19.99. Sweet. And of course, if you watch on occasion, you probably already know I've got a review copy of The Lunar Way, and you will be seeing a review of it this weekend. So stay tuned. It is the third of the Cults of RuneQuest volumes that tackle actual cults or pantheons, because we do have a couple of others. One's just mythology, and one is kind of an encyclopedia of sorts. But this is just packed with stuff that you will utilize for players who are either part of or battling against the Lunar Empire. Moving on to our next news piece, as we've got Morbid Bullet and We Love Tabletop Role-Playing Games, as well as 245 Trioxin with us in chat. Welcome. Hopefully I've said hello to everybody hanging out. So Russell Higgins says, I bet I don't see it this weekend. Russell must have something going on. Or Russell's implying that I won't get it done. Zach McKinney says, Jeff, good to hear you got a review copy. I was worried. Yeah, Chaosium's just kind of changed how things go, and they're fine with me. They understood where I was coming from when I was talking about their Horror on the Orient Express board game. They understood. They understood my point. So they didn't necessarily like the fact that I publicly stated it, but that's what I do. So Russell Higgins says, no, Jeff, you'll get it done. I'll be drinking, I bet. You can't watch videos when you're drinking? Jeez. Can you walk and chew gum at the same time? My goodness. Move right along. Another crowdfunding project, which caught my eye and is also about to enter its final week, is from Shadowlands Games. And I've got the skinny on Call of Cthulhu, Scions of the Dark Goddess. Scions of the Dark Goddess is a modern-era campaign for 7th edition Call of Cthulhu. Uncover a conspiracy that adapts the cycle of the Black Goat with 1,000 Young mythos, with hot topics like bioengineering, social media, and more. Boy, those are two radically different topics. Bioengineering, social media. Yes. Scions of the Dark Goddess is a cosmic horror campaign for Call of Cthulhu set in the United States in 2024. The Cthulhu mythos and cosmic horror remain present in humankind's collective imagination. However, they don't work the same way anymore. Humanity's primordial terrors are not still represented the same way they were a century ago. They adapt, they evolve, they have found a way to be present, spreading into our minds, our bodies, and our media. You know, if a video started circulating today of a great tentacled marine creature, at most it would become a trending topic for a few days until someone else recorded a video of a rat dragging a slice of pizza. No, even the fears remain the same, but their shapes have changed. There is a short video. It's a little less than a minute. I did have to cut the audio out because it was flagging for a copyright violation. But I want to share this video because it's going to share a lot more image-wise for this very impressive looking Call of Cthulhu adventure. So we're going to take a peek. Let's get the video going there. So you're going to hear me just kind of talking over it. Maybe I should do Count Floyd. Ooh, scary kids, scary. Oh, oh, oh. I would take a guess at least half the people watching this are like, what the hell is he doing? Who is Count Floyd? Oh, oh, oh. Get your 3D glasses, kids. Yes, sorry to say, Joe Flaherty just passed away a couple weeks ago. Too bad, too bad. Anyway, this does look pretty cool. I have to say, looks very, very nice. And the backer kit project, I didn't say Kickstarter before, did I? Did I say Kickstarter? I don't think so. I think I said crowdfunding project. You know me, because if it's crowdfunding, I just automatically start saying Kickstarter. But this is not Kickstarter, it's backer kit. Anyway, it has passed the 160,000 euros. I guess I didn't need to say the K. In funding, you can reserve a copy of the hardcover with PDF as well as digital stretch goals for a pledge of approximately $58. Or you can grab just the digital releases for a pledge of approximately $31 through May 30th. I got to say, I did not see an expected delivery date, which sometimes on Backer Kit, it's kind of tough to track those down. I'm sure someone in chat is probably going to be like, oh yeah, let me take a peek. I'll find it. But something I will mention is if you go to Shadowlands Games and you take a peek at the information for Scions of the Dark Goddess, there is a link for a free adventure, which is supposed to be I guess it's supposed to be like a prologue adventure. It's 30 pages in length. I am actually sharing a couple of pages from it because there's also like a 10-page preview for Scions of the Dark Goddess. But the image you're looking at right now, where it's kind of like almost looks like a farmyard or something like that, that is part of that preview. So if you are curious about maybe the adventure style, by all means, check it out. But gotta say, this does look pretty interesting, pretty impressive, and it is well beyond its funding goal. So pretty nice right there. Stacking Limit, Chris Burkhart, The Badger, JD Soul 3002. I think we got a couple more people who might have dropped on into chat here. Maybe not. I think I've said hello to everybody. Maddie C is popping out. It says, sorry they're late. Nah, you're not late. As long as you show up before I start saying, that's it for this time out, gang. You're on time. Chris Burkhart asks, of the three, Call of Cthulhu, Cult, and Delta Green, which is the darkest, in my opinion? I'm not familiar with Cult. I mean, I know of it. I've never actually gotten a chance to take a peek at it. But Delta Green, in my opinion, is the darkest. And Zach McKinney is also saying Delta Green. Just like I've told you before, the latest adventure, I'm still on the fence about actually doing a review. And I reached out to Arc Dream Publishing, my contact there, and I said, I'm up in the air about doing a review of this because on one hand, I would not run this adventure. It just delves into topics that I do not want to deal with at my game table, and I don't think my players would want to deal with. But on the other hand, it's really well written. It certainly creeps you out. So if that's what it's going for, it's going to pull that off. And she wrote me back and said, you know what? I won't even open that book up. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. Dengar the Mighty says they've run Cult and it's absolutely the darkest. Aha. AD says their group just finished Ex Oblivion from Delta Green, and they have an actual play on YouTube. It's dark. I like Delta Green, but it is an acquired taste. There we go. AD jumps in and says, yes, God's Teeth. That is exactly it. Says has a lot of abuse, animal and child abuse. Yup. And there's just some like weird set pieces that serve really effectively no other purpose than to freak your players out. And there is something else that takes place in it that, once again, it's not the topic of our show tonight, but I don't imagine my group that I run games for would like it. They would be frustrated by it, I would have to say. But the thing is, the adventure is really well written, really fucked up. It really is. No doubt about it. AD says that's why their group's moving to Call of Cthulhu. Delta Green will oppress you over time. It's like you need a bath once you're done with the mission. Yeah, I could see, and like I said, I like Delta Green, but I could see Delta Green being short, 5-6 session campaigns, and then move on to something else and decompress for a while, and then maybe come back to another Delta Green adventure. AD says, odd that they think, let's do something a little lighter in tone. I know, let's do Call of Cthulhu. I do notice, I got to say, a lot of more modern Call of Cthulhu adventures do tend to be really dark as well. So something to keep in mind. But I got to say, this looks really, really good. Next news piece. Evil Hat Games has released Death Match Island. It is out in print and PDF. I've got the dope. Congratulations. You've been selected to participate in Death Match Island. Winning will mean fame, freedom, and unlimited wealth. You may be experiencing some confusion and memory loss. This is normal following the selection and recruitment process. It is important you do not panic. Deathmatch Island is a fast-paced game about a deadly game show on a mysterious island chain. The competitors don't know how they got there. They've been selected and recruited, forced to risk their lives in a deadly series of games for the vague promise of a big reward for the sole survivor. The game uses the Paragon system developed for Aegon's 2nd edition. Hustle or die. Deathmatch Island explores the idea of a cruel system that uses paranoia and competitiveness to turn competitors against one another, and whether those victims will ultimately destroy each other or build the solidarity needed to smash the system together. Welcome, competitor. Would you like to play to win or break the game? The 216-page standard color soft cover with PDF is available over at Drive-Thru RPG for $24 and I believe it's 23 cents. Or you can grab just the PDF loan for $15. It was kind of cool. Looks pretty interesting. And this just hit Drive-Thru RPG. Now, I do believe, I'm trying to recall the creators of this game off the top of my head. I do not remember. It's a small publisher. This was available, I think it was like on Itch or something like that for a while. And Evil Hat picked it up, and this looks kind of impressive. If you are into shows like Squid Games, if you dig the Hunger Games, stuff like that, this is probably going to be up your alley. So by all means, check it out. Madu, taking a guess on that, is with us in chat, as is Flint Fireforge. I think I've said hi to everybody. We got a really nice rocking and rolling chat going. All right, final news piece. Following a successful Kickstarter, Musketeers vs. Cthulhu is now available in print and PDF. I've got the latest from Nightfall Games. Musketeers vs. Cthulhu is a 112-page A5-sized hardback book and includes a full Musketeer vs. Cthulhu campaign and everything needed to play Musketeers in any Call of Cthulhu setting. The Three Musketeers is a French historical adventure written in 1844 by Alexandre Dumas, and the swashbuckling story is legend, having been presented in almost every form of media, including board game, cartoon, comic book, and Hollywood movies. Created by writer H.P. Lovecraft, the Cthulhu mythos was first introduced in the 1928 short story Call of Cthulhu. That's not necessarily true, because we have references to the mythos in stories before that, just don't have mention of Cthulhu as far as I recall. Cthulhu is now a shared fictional universe where numerous authors and creators have developed the mythos further with different monsters and horrors in all manner of times and locations. Yeah, because there's no copyright on it. You can do whatever you want. One of the reasons why it's so prevalent. Don't have to hand over any ducats to anybody if you're using the Cthulhu mythos. In their short story, as part of the Musketeers vs. Cthulhu in the Court of King Louis anthology, Claudia and Chris have melded the swashbuckling of the Three Musketeers legend with the horror of the Cthulhu mythos, a perfect setting for tabletop role-playing. And the authors think you'll agree. Join the ranks of the Musketeers as they face off against eldritch plots and courtly intrigues. The time has come for daring deeds against impossible foes. All for one and one for all. And I will say that there is loads of information about this book. In fact, if I read all of the sell sheet info, it would have taken me about 10 minutes. So there is a lot packed into this book. Now, you can grab the 112-page A5-sized hardcover for an MSRP of approximately $30. Or you can grab the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for $14. Very cool. So we've had a bit of a Kickstarter, Call of Cthulhu sort of theme going with the news here tonight. Sweet. Very sweet. I remember I shared news of this Kickstarter back in the day, and I believe there is it's either a series of short stories or it is a novel which pits the Musketeers versus Cthulhu, and that's where this comes from. And the author of the stories, novel, what have you, is involved in the creation of this role-playing game. So very nice, very cool. So you might want to check that out. AD says, all for one and one for Cthulhu. Noel Inquisitor is with us in chat, as is Gleeman RX, or Gleemon Prescription. Maddie C says, seems like almost any game can get printed these days, especially if you throw Cthulhu in it. I gotta be honest, I think there's a little less Lovecraft these days than we saw in role-playing games 5 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago, because at that point, there were just loads and loads of games that delved into the mythos. And sadly, a lot of them were absolute crap. But I think things have kind of changed a little bit as far as Lovecraft. So there you have it. All right, that is the news for tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Magnificent. And there are some folks out there who stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and make not small donations. So big thank you right now to Agile Monk and Joshua Edwards for stopping on and making very generous donations. Thank you kindly. But of course, thank you to all of you out there, whether if you use the banner ads and or stop by paypal.me. Thank you very kindly. All righty then. So tonight's topic is going to be why the vast majority of Wizards of the Coast 5e Dungeons & Dragons reviews these days are absolute bullshit. But first, it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
It's refreshment time, folks.
Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on. Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on.
I've got 5 aces. Can you beat that? I've got a can of Wilkins coffee. Nothing beats Wilkins.
John Agar is the nice-looking young man, introduced by John White to pretty June Kenny. And when boy meets girl, well, they do what comes naturally. But the loss of love has made this mild-mannered man into a maniac. A maniac who wants to make you a plaything. And the fearsome fact is, he knows how to do it.
Why, I'm your friend.
How would you like to be a living doll? This madman can do with as he pleases. A monster his own woman had reason to flee. See, the world that the child in each of us knows. See, a baby doll take a bubble bath in a coffee can.
What are you talking about? Sally. Tell her. He said that tonight. He said tonight he was going to kill us all.
It only takes one of us to go for help.
Feel the fantastic fear of living in a normal world, but being dwarfed by people many times your size.
Yes, a baby doll bathing in a coffee can. Hubba hubba. It's like, what the hell? I don't know if I've seen that movie or not. Strangely enough, for some reason, I think I have back, when I was a kid, when we'd have like creature features, or we'd have the Saturday afternoon horror movie on the UHF channel, one of them. But I don't know. I just don't know. And yes, AD said, now last night we had a 50-foot high woman, and now we have tiny women. Is there a theme? Funny enough, I was going to share the trailer from The Black Scorpion, which is like a giant monster, but it was scorpions. And I'll be damned, got flagged for the copyright. So it's like, damn it. Can't use that. So I went with the backup. Yes, Attack of the Puppet People. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. All right. So tonight, I am going to share some reasons why I believe that these days, the vast majority of reviews for Wizards of the Coast Dungeons & Dragons releases are just absolute bullshit. Now, before we get into the topic, let me once again point out why I no longer do reviews of 5e Dungeons & Dragons releases from Wizards of the Coast, because I want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding here. Wizards of the Coast did not cut me off from review copies. I actually reached out to Wizards of the Coast, and they had a department that was supposed to be for content creators. I reached out to them and I told them to no longer send me 5e Dungeons & Dragons releases. So I was a person who contacted WotC and said, stop sending this stuff, because I'm not going to play the game that you want me to play. We will talk about that a little bit more as we kind of tackle this topic. Chris Burkhardt says, Black Scorpion, those poor people on that train. Yes. I used to have, I don't know if, I'm sure most of you won't remember these. You're probably not old enough. But there were these like giant monster models. I don't think they were from Aurora. And one of them was a giant scorpion. And I remember making that model. And it was like crushing a car in one of its claws. I think it was holding somebody And it was kind of cool. They made these like giant monster dioramas almost that you would make. And I seem to recall, I think another one was a praying mantis. So kind of cool. Kind of cool. Let's see. Zach McKinney says, Wizards of the Coast books get 9s because the site wants review copies and clicks, and Watsy gets to skate on, is it C? Yes, C-level work with A's. Drives me up a wall. Nolan Quizzer says, good call. Watsy is an anagram for can't worth our time. All right, so I'm going to talk about a few things in varying degrees of importance about why so many of these reviews are just complete horseshit. They really are. And one of the reasons why is you will find some of the people who are doing reviews for Dungeons and Dragons aren't actually gamers. I know you might be shocked by this, but some folks out there who share reviews of 5e D&D releases are not only not dungeon masters, they aren't players either. So their reviews are based on just reading through the book. And then they share their thoughts about it without ever being able to take into account what are players going to do in these situations. That's one of my beefs that I really started to have with many of the 5e D&D releases that came out was who play tested this stuff? Because there was an assumption of the players doing things that it was like, it's like, really? Who around the table is going to be doing this? Stacking Limit says they reviewed Dungeons and Dragons. Now, remember, I'm not talking about every single reviewer out there. Stacking Limit says not on YouTube, though. So there you've got that. So anyway, so that is one of the points to make is that a lot of times you'll see reviewers out there talking about, you know, for an example, we've got now Vecna, what is it, Eve of Ruin? Isn't that the title of it? See, once I was like, yeah, I'm not covering this shit anymore. It was like, I don't really stay up on top of everything. Just don't. So the last item that I reviewed was the Planescape release, which I thought was awful. I really did. For one, because how can you have a product called Planescape, which is supposed to be all about the various different planes of existence, and then have the adventure not take you to any other planes? It was like, what the? It's like, doesn't make any sense. Red Dice Diary says Broncolonia is one of the few 5e supplements in recent years they actually enjoyed or could see themselves running. See, now the funny thing is, I find that many of the third-party publishers out there are putting out far, far better content than Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons and Dragons. And it's been this way it's been this way for years now. And the thing is, I don't have like any sort of like hatred or animosity or anything like that towards Wizards of the Coast or people who work on Dungeons and Dragons or even people at Hasbro. It's just the shenanigans they want to play, I am not interested in taking part in. So, one of the reasons why we've got such half-assed reviews for 5e D&D releases is the reviewers are not gamers. Another reason is some people just aren't comfortable being critical. And I find this really strange that it's over the past, I'd say 5 years, we've seen more and more of this. Because I'll even get emails from people when I share a review of something and maybe I give it like a 7 out of 10. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I like it, but, I wasn't blown away by it and things like that. And I'll get emails from people saying, oh, well, you're not a creator. If you're not a creator, how can you review this? Or if you haven't run this, how can you review it? And it's sort of like, you do understand that's how critics work, right? Film critics are not filmmakers. Restaurant critics do not own restaurants. But some people just do not like hearing anything critical about anything at all. So I don't know. I don't know if they're triggered by it or something, but I have seen this where more and more people just get upset over a moderately impressed review or a negative review. And they just want everybody to sit there and be like, oh, this is wonderful. Everything's wonderful. Oh, this is great. So there are a number of viewers out there who just, as soon as the host, reviewer, what have you, start saying anything critical about something, they'll just tune out. So I find that kind of strange. So there are some folks out there who figure, well, people don't want to hear actual critical thought. And when I say critical, that doesn't necessarily mean negative. It's just a critical approach. So you're taking a look at something and you're saying, okay, well, I like these things. Maybe I don't care for these things. Maybe I would tweak this. That's all. It's not a personal attack on anyone involved in the production of something. It's just sharing honest opinions about games. That's it. And that's pretty much all I've ever done. And I say this all the time, too. People get upset about reviews. They're just opinions. That's all they are. And my opinion is going to be different than other people's opinions. There's games out there people absolutely love where I'm like, I'm looking at you, Settlers of Catan. That's right. Yeah, not a game that I would go out of my way to play. In fact, to be honest, I'd rather not play Settlers of Catan. Even if that was the only game around, I'd be like, well, let's watch a movie instead. Right, let's see what's going on in chat here, and then I will continue. Flaming Heron says, how can you review and not be critical? Then don't call it a review. Okay, we're going to get to that in just a sec, because that's the next thing on my list. Red Dice Diary says, true, the third-party stuff tends to have far more passion and be more interesting than that standard limp offerings from Wizards of the Coast. Well, you got to keep in mind, now the major publishers, especially Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, so forth, they're so terrified of pissing anybody off. So it's very vanilla as far as much of what they release. That's why nothing ever really stands out anymore. Just like I mention it all the time, and I've taken heat for this. That my favorite 5e D&D adventure is The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. And I know a lot of people really dislike that adventure. It happens to be my favorite. And it was different. And one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like it is because it was different. It had a theme to it. It was more fairy tale. It was a lot less conflict oriented. And there are a lot of folks out there who did not like it. And then we saw Wizards of the Coast kind of steer back towards the ho-hum. Betty C says they've been done with 5e for years now, once they discovered other awesome RPGs. Fleming Aaron says we call those reviews advertisements. Kevin Thorpe has popped into chat. Didn't one of the WotC supplements have you playing baristas? The last D&D thing I bought was White Plume Mountain. That's going back a ways there, Kevin. Pretty good adventure, though. Pretty good delve in White Plume Mountain. Chris Lundgren says some 5th edition D&D players take the game as their substitute religion and feel you're attacking them. That is also true. That if you are critical about something that someone else is really excited about or just can't live without, they tend to get kind of pissed off. Even if you're not necessarily saying something is awful or terrible or bad. It's just, well, you know, you think it's a 10 out of 10. I disagree. Achilles Lament is joining us in chat. I believe this might be a first-time visit in chat for Achilles Lament. Welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable. Chris Burkett says, I worry about Free League going down the Wizards of the Coast corporate road with all the newer licensed properties they've turned into role-playing games. Though Alien is a good game, I hope they come up with original content. I think one of the reasons why you will not see Free League Publishing fall into that sort of category, they are not based in the United States. They are not Americans. So don't worry about that, because Europeans are far more open-minded about a lot of different things than we are here in the U.S. Maddie C says they started with 4E, so they have a soft spot or a fondness for it. Yeah, see, now I didn't have anything going on with 4th edition. I read the core books, that was it. And it was funny, I only read the core books because I was actually spending a week over at Elliot's house. And he and his wife and daughter went to bed fairly early. And I'm a night owl, so I was kind of like hanging around and like, oh, I guess I'll read these. That's it. Kevin R. Smith says, Free League comes from Sweden, home of death metal. Yeah. Morbid Bullet says they're also one of those weirdos who preferred to 2nd edition and 3.5 must be talking about 4E. But I wouldn't say to be very concerned about that whatsoever. Okay, so back to why are the vast majority of Wizards of the Coast 5e D&D reviews these days absolute bullshit is because many reviewers out there don't even read the books. I'll let that set in there for a minute. They don't read the books. And as was already mentioned, we get a lot of reviews. A lot of people present things as reviews, which are simply either previews or overviews. So a lot of times you will see, excuse me, for some reason I got like a frog in my throat tonight. Must be from Delve's Temple of the Frog King. Wasn't that what it was called? Temple of the Frog King. Blah! Also, the frog jumps out. Anywho, we see it all the time. We see this a lot with electronics reviews on YouTube and such. And it's, oh, I'm taking this out of the box and I'm just going to give you the specs on it. Ta-da! It's a review. No, that's not a review. That is an overview. You're showing me the product. You're telling me what's already readily available about the product. That tain't a review, Dooley. It's a preview or it is an overview. So that's why you will see lots of outlets out there take a 5e D&D release. And what I always did was shoot a video, and I would usually do a preview when it would arrive, normally on the day it arrived, and then I would make sure that I'd read it prior to it hitting stores so that I could get a review out there right before it came out in stores so that the viewer would know my thoughts about it. Once again, just an opinion. That's all a review is. But still, at least I would make sure that I got that out there before it hit stores so you knew what I thought. And Wizards of the Coast did not like that. So what Wizards of the Coast started to do is the reviewers who are not just suck-ups and sycophants started to get review copies late. So the last time I got something, the Planescape release, when that came out, I got that after it was out in stores. And all these other reviewers had shared videos about it. And of course, they were all very positive, right? But the thing is, there are a lot of folks out there who share reviews that are actually mistitled. They are not reviews. They are previews. They're overviews. You'll see outlets out there take a Dungeons and Dragons release and make 15 videos about it. And they'll talk about different aspects of that book and play it off like, oh, you know, these are reviews. And they're not. And they're usually almost always about 8.5 minutes long. And the reason behind that is that YouTube will allow you to put a mid-video ad in a video that's 8 minutes or longer. So if you've ever wondered why you see a lot of videos on YouTube clock in at about 8 minutes, 10 seconds, that is why. So that you not only get the ads at the beginning and end of the video, but you also get a what's called a mid-roll advertisement. So another reason that these reviews are absolute bullshit, people don't even read the book. They give you some highlights, they skim through the book, and they talk about, oh, well, you know, this, that. And then they go, oh, and it's wonderful. Prime example, Planescape, once again, all these people out there were just talking about how great the adventure was, but there were portions of the adventure that just didn't make any logical sense at the game table. And I mentioned that in my review, was there's no way you're going to run this without having to tear it apart and rebuild it. And a lot of reviewers out there did not pick up on that. Now, there were some, I did hear that there were some people out there who were sharing reviews, and I think they were coming out right about the same time mine did, because they were on the naughty list for Wizards of the Coast, who were also talking about just how shitty Planescape was. And Spelljammer was pretty lousy too. Okay, so once again, some reviewers out there don't actually read the books. Now, once again, as I pointed out, I don't believe personally that you need to run the adventure or run the role-playing game that you're reviewing in order to review it. Just because that's not how criticism works, right? I don't have to be, as I said before, I don't have to be an RPG creator to review role-playing games. Just don't have to be. All right, let's go back to chat real quick, and then I will continue. I've got two more comments that I've got. Stacking Limit says they review D&D, but they don't get free copies. There you go. I've had people ask me if I would consider continuing to review 5e D&D stuff. And I said, I just don't want to buy it. Sorry. I mean, I don't have a budget. I mean, I have a shoestring budget. So me spending $60 on a D&D release, that's a chunk of change. All right. Let's see. We've got Free League are great at setting and vibe. Coriolis is an example of this. Yes, you got the new edition of Coriolis, which is going to hit next year, successfully kickstarted. Chris Burkout says, I picked up a copy of Dragonbane. Going to use that to introduce their nephew to the hobby. Very nice. He's Dracula says, thank you, Jeff. Tell him. I'm just sharing my thoughts. That's just how I am. Morbid Bullet says, unboxing videos aren't really as good as overviews. It's, look what I got for free. All depends on how it's presented. Because I will do first look videos. In fact, I just shared an unboxing and first look at a Jest of Robin Hood from GMT Games. And in situations like that, you don't have a lot of people taking a peek at something. So another example would be, I just shared a first look video of Call of Cthulhu, The Blessed and the Blasphemous from Sons of the Singularity. It's something that I don't think has got a lot of coverage. I don't think there's a lot of videos out there about it. So even just taking a peek inside, maybe taking a synopsis of the adventures, the scenarios in it, helps provide people with a bit of information so they can kind of get a better feel for what the item is. But I have kind of backed off on doing like first looks on like RPG stuff. Kind of now aiming towards doing review videos as opposed to doing a first look and then a review. Because yes, I don't think there's as much bang for the buck with a first look video. But the thing was, when I would do first look videos for 5e D&D stuff earlier on, those usually pulled in 10, 15,000 views. So normally between the first look and the review video, I could usually expect 25, 30,000 views. And that started to fall off past like the last 2 years or so that I was covering 5e D&D. Those numbers really did drop. And I think, and part of it was that the people who really love 5e D&D probably already knew that this is that guy who talks about, you know, he's the old man who yells at clouds about D&D. Jack Hanks says, I think Jack is saying that they like both unboxing and review videos. By the way, welcome to Jack. Good to see you once again. Hanging out in chat. Achilles Lament asks, what was your hardest review decision that you had to do? I'll tell you what, I'll finish this up. And then I will answer that question. If I don't, remind me before I wrap this up. Flaming Aaron says, first look videos work if you never intend to do a review, but you generally do reviews. So one thing that you can, it's not set in stone, but this was another reason why I liked doing first look videos, because if I did a first look video and then I didn't really care for the game or RPG release, what have you, and then I would contact the creator, publisher, what have you, and maybe they weren't too keen on me doing a negative review, at least they got some coverage out of it. So sometimes, outside of like the war games, because I don't get a lot of war game reviews out there anymore, because I just don't have anybody playing them with me, especially the kind of hex and counter style war games. So those kind of only get first look videos. But another reason, and I think this is the biggest reason why the vast majority of 5e Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast release reviews are absolute bullshit, is because of money. Now, if you have followed the Gaming Gang for any length of time, I have been doing this since September of 2010. In fact, the Gaming Gang launched the month before The Walking Dead came out on AMC. So I outlasted The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. So, yeah. So there. And I have never been about making money. Obviously not. My responsibility has always been twofold. One, my responsibility is to the visitor or viewer. So I look at it this way. I'm not made of money. I assume a great majority of the people who watch these videos have to decide, okay, I'm interested in this, and this, but I can only squeeze one of these into my budget. Which should it be? So I've always felt it is my responsibility to try to help you avoid wasting money on crap. Essentially it. That has always been it. I have never sat there like, well, let's see if I do this way, will I make more money? Will this drive more clicks? Will I get more views on this video? Now, yeah, granted, for these live streams, we kind of discussed, hey, maybe have a topic of discussion. Because we were doing the first looks, and then sometimes I would do reviews. And to be very honest, there were times that I really felt under the gun to make sure I got something, because I always had to have something for the live stream. And then I thought, well, just doing the news. But there are other outlets out there who do live streams, and just, you look at the topic and you're like, that's clickbait. That's clickbait. Or they tackle a topic, the topic that they indicate for the show really never gets touched on. I don't do that. I am not going to get rich from doing this. I've never gotten rich out of doing this. I barely break even. I do this because I love the hobby, and I get a kick out of the people I get to deal with in the hobby, both with publishers and people I get to meet at conventions, as well as the folks who tune in, many of them 3 nights a week, to hang out and chat. Well, I just ramble on about stuff. That's pretty much it. So when it comes to, business decisions as far as the Gaming Gang, they really don't exist for the most part. So, as I mentioned, my first responsibility is to the viewer, the visitor to the website, what have you, to provide you with my honest thoughts about any given topic or any given product that I have an opportunity to review. Now, there are some people out there who think, well, if you got something for free, you really shouldn't be reviewing it. I disagree with that. But once again, I never charge anybody to review stuff. The only time I ever charge for videos is if I'm doing a Kickstarter preview video. And if you follow the Gaming Gang, I don't do loads and loads of them. I do on average maybe one a month, because I just don't want to have a ton of Kickstarter videos out there that I've done. I'm very choosy about that. So my second responsibility is to myself. So when you watch this show, this is me. You meet me at a convention, this is me. I'm not putting on a shtick. So this is who I am, and I understand that I am certainly not everyone's cup of tea. I get it. I don't have a problem with that. But then again, I'm not going to change who I am for like more viewers or more visitors to the website or anything like that. So those are my two responsibilities that I have had since the Gaming Gang launched back in 2010. Now, that's not everyone's case. So a great majority of outlets out there are in it for the money. You see this with a lot of outlets that have popped up in the last 3 years, 3 to 4 years, where you can obviously see they've got financial backing and they're willing to say everything is awesome because brings in more freebies, and a lot of times these outlets charge for their reviews. Now, I know of outlets out there that say, oh, we never charge for reviews. And then at the same time, I have publishers who have told me exactly how much those outlets charge. I don't know. But there are many outlets out there that it's all about the money. Now, be it how many views their videos get, the amount of time people watch those videos, all of that comes into play as far as money, right? So as an example, if you watch this after the fact, say you watch this tomorrow, you will find that there will be advertisements throughout the show. Now, people watch live. Sometimes there is a break for a YouTube ad. So I do not have any kind of, control over when those pop up because they seem to pop up at really bizarre times. But normally what I try to do is I try to make sure that those ads, when I have an opportunity to go in and make edits, that they kind of pop up in, I don't know, what's the word I'd be looking at? Just more logical spots in the video. So I'm not usually in the middle of a sentence and all of a sudden an ad pops up, right? Anyway, so views are all about monetization, right? Monetization of your channel, especially here on YouTube, but of course, TikTok, other social media outlets as well. And with Wizards of the Coast, they decided that if you did not play ball with them, if you did not just sit there and give a green light, give a passing grade to everything that came out from them, that they were going to penalize you, right? I discussed this a little bit earlier, where Wizards of the Coast decided that the reviewers out there who actually provided legitimate reviews that didn't paint everything just all wonderful and rosy, but actually were critical of the Dungeons and Dragons releases that came out. But, saying something was good when it was good, but also saying something was crap when it was crap. They decided, well, we're going to make sure that we penalize them by getting their review copies out to them later than everybody else. In fact, the person that I had worked with, and I've talked about this before, at the third-party marketing company that at one point handled all of the D&D reviewers, got me a copy of Planescape prior to its release in stores that was on D&D Beyond. So I had access to it on D&D Beyond, and Wizards of the Coast was not happy about it because I was being a bad boy. So what happens is, if you already know that many of these outlets out there just are concerned with their bottom line, with their monetization, as soon as they realize that, well, if I'm not getting the 5e D&D releases the same time everybody else is, if I'm being penalized and everybody else's video out there is ahead of mine, this is going to really hurt me in the monetization, and it's going to really be a kick in the wallet. And that was the case, because I had noticed, because what I would do, I would get an email saying FedEx had whatever package was coming from Wizards of the Coast. It was going to arrive on whatever day. So I'd have my graphics ready to go. And as soon as that would arrive, I would bring it down into the duct tape studios and I would start shooting video. And I would get that video out there the day it showed up. And there were times that I had the first look video for a D&D release. Now, when they started sharing the D&D Beyond copies ahead of time, then I really didn't have that advantage. But there were times that I actually would have the first video out for a D&D release. And that would normally mean at least an additional 10,000 views on that video. If I had the 10th video that came out, there would be a huge drop in numbers. That's why towards the end of my 5e D&D coverage, those videos were pulling maybe 5,000 views. Now, I will point out, once again, I am an acquired taste. So it's not like, hundreds of thousands of people line up to watch my videos, right? We know that. But still, going from 15, 20, 30,000 views to 5,000 views, yeah, that was a big hit as far as the monetization. And remember, unless you're pulling 1 million views on videos, you're not really making dick through YouTube videos. I've talked about this before. On average, I make about $150 a month from the videos here on YouTube. And I have nearly 2,000 videos. I think we're at 1.9K. I don't know where exactly we are between the 1,900 and 2,000, but it is rounded, I guess. So just imagine how much a video that was pulling in 30,000 views was going to make. Usually about 150, 175 just on that video. So keep in mind, got to play nice with Wizards of the Coast, or you are not going to get the kind of views on your videos as you will if you do play nice and just give a big thumbs up to everything out there. So that, I think, is the number one reason that we see so many absolute bullshit reviews for 5e D&D releases from Wizards of the Coast. It's so that the reviewers can stay on the good side of Wizards of the Coast. And once again, keep in mind, there are a lot of outlets who have pretty much hitched their wagons to Wizards of the Coast. So if they stop covering D&D, or if Wizards of the Coast gets pissed at them and starts sending them the review copies after release dates, that is going to be the death knell of that outlet. Think about it. Remember the open game license fiasco we talk about from time to time? Remember all those D&D outlets, I should say, on YouTube who were like, oh, that's it, I'm done. I am done with Wizards of the Coast. This is enough. How many of them actually really did cut ties with Wizards of the Coast? How many of them are still firmly in Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's back pocket? Almost all of them. Almost every single one of them. That is the major reason why so many of these reviews are just complete bullshit. Because these outlets, they don't care about you. They don't care about your wallet. They care about you to the extent that you tune in and watch their videos. But they don't care about your wallet. They certainly don't care about actually providing a legitimate review of a product. I don't know. Don't know. Manny says, keep fighting the good fight. Fleming Heron says, rather be honest and be able to look at yourself in the mirror every day and be happy with the man looking back at you. Chris Burkett says, fuck the corporate mentality. Well, he didn't say fuck. He said F. But I'm just throwing that in there. And all the simps who fall into line. Adino the Easy Night is with us in chat. Sorry if we've had probably some people pop into chat, but I was kind of, I wasn't ranting, but, I was kind of rolling there. So, says they agree. AD says, you hit the nail on the head. And what they don't know is that we don't need them. See, that's the weird thing, too, I have to say. And once again, I always hope for the Dungeons & Dragons releases to be excellent. I really do. Because I have a soft spot of nostalgia for Dungeons & Dragons. I don't wish ill on Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro or anyone associated with Dungeons & Dragons. I don't. But I'm also not here to bullshit you either. And that's one of my pet peeves in this world is just the sheer amount of bullshit that we have to deal with in regards to everything. I swear, when I was growing up, yeah, there was bullshit, but not like this. I mean, these days, it's like you get up in the morning, and it's like, where's the shovel? And you go to bed at night, and you're like, oh, let me go put the shovel in the corner here. But yeah, it's true. I really always hope that the next Dungeons & Dragons release would be, like fantastic. That I'd be like, wow, what a revelation. And sadly, the past few years, it is certainly not the case. And we could talk about that one day. Why I personally feel that the quality of 5e D&D has fallen off, and it's got nothing to do with wokeness or anything along that line. I'll give you a clue. It's because everybody's a freelancer. Nobody works for Wizards of the Coast anymore. Verbal Bite is with us as Dungeons & Dragons Scandal is more interesting than the game. And yeah, they're just addicted to scandal now, aren't they? It's crazy. Kevin King says, hey, bub, that sure is a nice review channel you got there. Be a shame if everything was to happen to it. Yeah, you got a lot of viewers on your videos. Wouldn't want to see those views drop now, would you? Lord Cost 2000 is with us. So to wrap up, the question was asked, I think it was AD asked me, what was the most difficult review or at least review decision that I've had to make? And I got to be honest, I don't really have too many issues of that. Because for one, I always believe in sharing my opinion with you. So there are, like I've said it before, just said it earlier today, there are games out there people love that I just don't care for. And there's games that I absolutely love, other people don't care for. Same with books, movies, television shows, everything out there. But as far as my reviews, yeah, to be honest, I talked about this earlier tonight. I think the biggest what would be I'm trying to think of the word I want to use here. Conundrum. The biggest conundrum I have had regarding a review. Now, I'm not talking about like pushback from publishers or gamers or anything like that. I'm talking about something that I'm going to do a review of and I'm up in the air. And that is God's Teeth for Delta Green, which I had mentioned earlier tonight, because I have a very good relationship with Art Dream Publishing. I like the folks who are involved with the company. Never had an issue. They're always super nice. I did interview a couple of folks from the company prior. My contact there is always super cool. In fact, as I mentioned, I emailed her and I said, I don't know about reviewing this. And yeah, a lot of times I would reach out to a company and the reaction would be, what are you talking about? Come on, it's Delta Green for, well, I mean, whatever game it would be, if it fell into this quagmire, right? They'd say, oh, come on, man up. Just do the review, come on. Not the case. Not the case at all. So, like I said, I sat there saying, this is really well written. This is really well presented. Production quality, it's what we expect from Art Dream Publishing. Pretty damn good. You got Dennis Detweiler's kind of odd artwork, which I guess is, some people like, some people don't, but I'm fine with it. And then on the other hand, I was like, you know what? This just deals with stuff that I don't feel comfortable with at a game table, and I would not enjoy running. And I don't think my players would enjoy it either. And the funny thing is that as a game master, you better enjoy what you're running. We've talked about it before when it's like, oh, you want to be a dungeon master, you want to be a game master. Well, you better be excited, because if you are not excited to run it, I don't care how good you think you are, your players are not going to have a very good time because you're just not excited to run it. So I always talk about, don't get finagled into running something you don't want to run, because no one's going to have a good time. And you're the one who's got to invest the time and energy into it. So it's really not worth it. So I still sit there and I think to myself, should I shoot a video at least and say, hey, I have problems with the content. It's not something I would run, but it's so well presented. And for people who don't have an issue, they'd really, I don't want to say enjoy it, but they'd really probably get into it or get, spooked by it, which is the whole point. But I keep thinking to myself, if I do that video is going to come across as more of a negative video than anything else, because at the end of the day, I have to say, I would not run this. So I think that's it. I think that is the biggest conundrum I have had as far as a particular product getting reviews. So Jack Hank says, you didn't like it? And Chris Burkhardt says, it's got some controversial content. Yes. I want to point out, though, it's not as if that controversial content gets like a deep dive. Because if that were the case, I'd be like, whoa, I'm going to shred this thing. So it's not that. It's just the topics that you have to touch upon that are big drivers to the campaign. Cleveland RX says there's not even a preview available on DriveThruRPG for God's Teeth, just a warning about extreme content. Yeah, that's pretty much the case. AD says the folks at Arc Dream are really decent people, very inviting and kind. Yeah, they're great. I mean, they really are. They're great. So, and never an issue getting a review copy from them. So, AD says, enjoy what you're running. If only players understand that. We must be excited to run the game. Amen. And your players have to be excited too, because there's nothing worse. Well, there's a lot of things worse. But one of the crappy things that happens around your gaming table is when you're excited to run something and your players are sort of like, and a lot of times it happens when it's something new. And it's like, I've run across this one. It's like, okay, I'm going to run something that's not Call of Cthulhu. I wouldn't say it's complete buzzkill, but there are times where it's like, okay, come on. Because some of the players are thinking, oh, we could be playing Call of Cthulhu. I love Call of Cthulhu. It's like, okay, you might love this. Give it a try. Give it a chance. So Chris Perkins says, we're all going to rush out and get God's teeth now out of curiosity. I wouldn't recommend that. Especially if you don't run Delta Green. I guess I would say if you run Delta Green and you've got a lot of the releases from Arc Dream Publishing and you've never really had an issue with any of it, God's Teeth probably will be fine. There's that. All righty. That is it for this time out. Pretty long show tonight, so I think we should wrap this up. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my unboxing and first look at a Jest of Robin Hood from GMT Games. And don't forget, I got a bunch of videos which are going to be popping up over the next few days, so stay tuned for those. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, bigger thank you, because you're not only keeping me company, but you're keeping each other company, especially when I'm rambling on and on and on. Yes. But of course, I know a lot of you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for watching any of the videos here on the channel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the holiday if you're celebrating the holiday. Is that on Monday, right? Is it Memorial Day Monday, or am I cracking up? I'm off a little bit with my calendar because my nephew Cameron is coming back from his deployment in Africa, and it keeps changing the date he's coming back and the date that we're supposed to all get together to celebrate his return. So I'm like, wait, what? When is what? What? Huh? Anywho, like I said, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week, weekend, holidays, so on and so forth. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.